Mark. Kamusta ka
Christy.
na?
All good, all good. Thanks for having me. And how are
Yeah,
you?
I am doing really well. Excited for our conversation today. And for those listening, we get to have a fun conversation today on this episode with Mark Tupas, who's the founder and CEO of DioChemie Coating Products. And I love the name of your company, Mark, right? Dio meaning God and chemie meaning chemistry. So
Mhm.
this company is really about God's chemistry. So
Absolutely.
we're gonna talk to Mark today. We're gonna hear his story, and then talk a little bit about his venture building process. But Mark, first off, where are you joining us from today? Where are you right now?
I am right now in Manila, Philippines. And
Yeah.
shout out and greetings to all your listeners or viewers. I hope they're all well when they're enjoying this conversation.
I agree. So yeah, and is it hot there right now? I'm assuming yes, as always.
Yeah, it is after usually Holy Week and the month after Easter. It's usually the dog days of summer here.
Yeah, I bet. And your background is super interesting. Tell us about that image. Did you take
Well,
that, or is that a standard background?
it is a well. I'm a big fan of golf, and I lived in Florida for 7 years, and so and Florida itself is just a paradise. So yeah, that's a golf course in one of the Florida.
Yeah, that's funny. I do not golf very much, but I did go to a driving range about a month ago, and it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely do it again. It takes a lot of focus, just kind of remembering all of the, the proper technique and how to hold your arms and all of that.
Oh yeah, it's not a walk in
Yeah,
the park.
I know. I know. Sometimes when you watch it, right, it seems like it's just, you swing it and then you actually do it. And it's every body part needs such precise positioning.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with it. I like the technique aspect of it. I love that challenge.
A lot of moving parts.
A
But
lot,
again,
a
I'm very
lot of
grateful
moving parts.
for my dad introducing me to the sport because it's really helping me as an entrepreneur. You get to meet a lot of
Really?
clients. Yeah, a lot of clients, a lot of customers, a lot of friends in the golf course.
Yeah,
So it does really help.
that's
I
true.
thought the same. Yeah, I thought that the saying that they say, like, a lot of contracts and a lot of, I guess, agreements and a lot of shaken hands happen in the golf course. And I'm living that. It's actually really true.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. I mean, I've observed that. I've personally in my line of work, not experienced that too much, but yeah, I agree. It's true, and I can, with the way that golf is, just the sport itself, right? There's a lot of time just traveling through the green and yeah, and it's beautiful scenery. Like I can understand why it's just
And
like
and you live in
great place.
California, so there's a
Yeah,
bunch of courses there. I mean, for me, if it's not really about the game, it's really about the scenery, I would say.
yeah,
Not
yeah,
that far from Pebble Beach. It's very scenic and one of the most
yeah.
prestigious golf courses in the
Oh yeah,
world. Yep.
oh
So
yeah. Well, let all that said, why don't you tell us a little bit, Mark, about your background now that we know your golfing background and the time you spent in the US? Why don't we fill our listeners in a little bit on who you are, more about your family, where were you born, where'd you grow up, and yeah, tell us a little bit about you.
okay. So I'm Mark Tupas. I was born and raised right here in the Philippines at the City of Smiles called Bacolod. Um, Growing up, a lot of inspiration actually. Uh, Now that I'm starting to realize and you're giving me all these questions to ponder, in terms of inspiration, like, growing up, I did consider becoming a priest. To think that I have an uncle who, well, he passed away. He was a priest. And also, I was inspired to be a scientist, which I'm also starting to realize one of my uncle who passed away was also a scientist for NASA, believe it or not. Well, he passed away a long time ago, but he was a scientist. And final inspiration, actually, I became a chemical engineer, and again realizing that that's the inspiration of my dad because he is a chemical engineer. And so, fast forward through my education to my career, I became a chemical engineer, and I also am and still am a research scientist. So I guess getting all that inspiration and priesthood aside, the religious aspect. Again, my mom, she has that brother who's a priest. My mom and dad are very devout with our Catholic faith, and so growing up, it was really embedded in us. And so, although I turned out to be a father instead of a Catholic father, the religious aspect has been there and has been well inspired, not just by my uncle, but also our family from both sides, from my dad and my mom.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, very religious, very educated, and
Right.
inspired easily.
Yeah. I'm curious though, as a kid, what attracted you to this role of being a priest? Do you remember what was going through your mind?
Oh, a lot of things actually. It's nature and nurture as well. Because the background is, my family is very devout, my mom and dad, and again, uncles and grandparents that are also very devout. And we live literally like 50 steps away from a church. So we live behind the church.
Wow.
So I was there. I was a boy. Yeah. Every Sunday, I would, when our priest would do service, I was the altar boy there. And I also went to a Catholic all boys school for my elementary and my high school. And also for college, I went to a Catholic school as well. So it's all been religious and spiritual in one aspect. And so the inspiration actually to become a priest was just there. You were just surrounded by people. And actually, I decided like I really wanted to go to the seminary after I graduated. When I was about to get to high school, and my mom actually kind of stopped me and said, going to seminaries might be tough. Like finish high school and check where you are. So she did kind of steer me like a little away from it, but so that's why I kind of decided like, I might go to normal regular college if because like again going into high school I got into let's say the normal vices of a teen, a little bit of drinking, hanging out with too much friends, and enjoying the moment. And so, I kind of said like, there's a part of me that's still attached to that. So I'm just going to live my life as a normal person.
It's always fascinating to hear, what kids, as kids, what you dream about and how that evolves. And eventually also, I love the role of your uncles, seeing these examples in your life played a big role in shaping your imagination, right, of what you could be. But praise God. Fast forward, you became a scientist. And of course, I know your faith in God continues to play a big role in your life. So I'm curious, at this point in your life, who is God to you?
That is a very good question, Christine. Growing up, I always thought, and I'd like to say and share this with your viewers, here in the Philippines, we have a Santo Niño, right? I don't know if in other Catholic religions, it's the baby and also the toddler Jesus, right? So as a kid, as a toddler, I always kind of look like, hey, Jesus is my friend, Jesus is my playmate. And when I got to be an adult, kind of learn like, the adult Christ as well, the serving everyone, being a nomad, going everywhere, just really just going out and meeting a lot of people and just talking to them and guiding them, not being afraid. And so I also identify there. And now that, I became a parent, I'm also starting to realize that, God is also a parent, he's caring for us, he's nurturing us. He always wants what's best for us, never wants to see us fail, but we also have to work hard. And so that's how I see God, so I'm growing older and older. And again, there's when he made us, we were shaped in his image and likeness. And so you can definitely see that as you're growing as a human being, and eventually when you are at death's door, you can see all facets and evolution of what God is. So right now I'm seeing him as a parent. So
God, your father.
Yeah, and now that I'm a father, it's that's how I'm seeing it as well. And I know he's more than that, but you can just see that how it evolves. As a kid, I see him as a kid and as a friend, a best friend. As an adult, I see him as a guide. Now that I'm a parent, I also see him as a parent to me. So, it's just as you're growing, your eyes and your experience gets unlocked.
I love
and
that.
So it's still, like the mystery. That's the mystery to me. Yeah.
So good. That's so good. So you mentioned you are a father. Tell us about how many kids do you have again?
I only have one daughter. Kind of hoping that we're kind of like late in our age, but kind of hoping that we would still be getting baby number 2. My daughter, actually, her name is Mariam. My wife is Christy, so there's Christ there. My daughter's Mariam. I'll just make this really quick. Our daughter was named after Mary. That's the Aramaic name of Mary, because my wife and I, when we were wishing for her, we visited this place in Turkey, in Ephesus, which was the last place on earth where the Virgin Mary ascended. I mean, we all know that she never died. She ascended to heaven as a whole being. And so her last place right now is like a sacred ground. A lot of people go there, and so there's a wishing wall there. And I wrote 4 wishes. 3 of them, and so far the 4th one is about to become a reality. But so far, all of the wishes came through, and one of them was my daughter. And so, in honor of the Virgin Mary, we named her Mariam. So that's how she came to be.
Wow.
So and a religious experience, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. And I know your daughter also played a big role in your entrepreneurial journey.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us about that.
Well, I'll take a few steps back. It's her and also one other daughter, our dog daughter, basically. For me, for my human daughter, Mariam, it's like, I kind of see the world as it's evolving right now, that it's getting tougher and tougher for someone like her to be successful, knowing that our population is getting bigger, the world's getting smaller. It's becoming very, very competitive. And so like I have to create something for her that, that her mom and I can protect, not really be dependent, because I know being an employee or being someone that works for a different system, that you are expendable. So I like to create a world for her where it's her rules, it's her own, but of course we want to guide her on how to do it properly.
Right.
On the other end, that's why I mentioned our dog daughter. This is one of the saddest, and again, I always keep recollecting to this. When our dog passed away, her name is Kate. It's one of the worst moments that I've ever had in my life. She got sick, and we took her to the vet, and apparently the cost of medical just to get her through operation and everything was just exorbitant. And so kind of decided to at that point, we were living in Boca Raton in Florida. It's one of the most affluent cities in the world. A lot of people who are very, very rich. It's just like you are just surrounded by all this money. And we were there, and we were in a vet, and we were practically broke. My wife and I had to kind of spend any money for our dog. And so we decided to put her down. And when that happened, I was just bawling. And really, it's not really because our dog passed away. Yeah, that's the majority of it. But one thing that really crossed my mind is because I can't help her. I've been betrayed before. I've gotten hurt so many times. But I think the worst is when you are in a state of helplessness. There's anything you can do. It's the inevitability of things to come, and you cannot stop it. And that's, to me, it's if I have the resources, if I worked hard, if I did this, I can stop this. And so, relating to that, there's world hunger, there's world sickness, there's oppression. If I have the resources, if I have, the firepower, we can stop that. And I believe that. So at this point, we want to get to a platform where we can help a lot of people. And so I guess that's one of also the inspiration there, although it was a bad experience, but I drew it from there as well.
Yeah.
So again, the state of helplessness, that's the worst feeling. You can be betrayed, you can, people always be a traitor to you, or you can get hurt in so many ways. But I think nothing stings the most when you feel that there's nothing you can do. And then I think that is just for me personally, the state of helplessness.
Yeah. And that moved you to action.
Oh yeah. A lot of ways, because my daughter was there at that time as well. When I came home, she was asking me, "So where's Kate? Where's Kate?" And they're I'm sorry. She's in a better place now. She's with God. We will see her soon. Very, very. She's with God right now, and so it's kind of hard to explain that. But yeah, it made me. It moved me, and never again. So that's why, it also kind of helped us propel DioChemie.
Wow. So tell us about when did the idea for DioChemie get birthed?
It back in.
I know it's been a long time. Remind me, when did you start the company?
It was conceptualized back in 2014. It's about 8 years now. It took us close to about 4 or 5 years before we finally got a facility and had to start creating stuff from there. So yeah, it's been 8 years, but the actual time where it really started rolling was 2018. The last 4 years, it's always about trying to get people, try to get family and friends hey, help me bootstrap this thing, and it took a while and a lot of drama in between.
I bet. Yeah. So what was when did the concept come together for you and your wife?
It was 2014. I saw the state of things here because we were living in the US, and my wife and I, we would visit the Philippines, I would say every 2 years, every 3 years, and seeing the state of things here. I kind of saw that, me as a research scientist and making a lot of materials for the US, kind of realized like, I can bring this to the Philippines and really up the game there. We're talking about construction materials.
Right. What was the first product? What was the first product that
we wanted to bring out our fireproofing product, which was Ridfire. At that time, it's like, it's a novel product, it will help protect people, it will protect properties from getting burnt. And when we first started to bring it here, it never caught fire. No pun intended. It never caught because there was still a bigger problem, and that was the waterproofing issue in the Philippines. Like, for a country that gets ravaged by typhoons and floods and monsoon, we never became masters of waterproofing. And so we addressed that, and lo and behold, I guess we were guided, and the good Lord showed us that if you focus on this more, you might see something here. And so we did, actually. So now it is our bread and butter product.
Wow. Do you remember the first finished product that you sold?
Oh, yeah, I do remember. It was in 2019, and it was with a big customer. We had a tough time negotiating, and it got to a point like, no, we're not going to make anything out of this deal. But I've kind of pulled the trigger because, they're a big customer, they're a big name. So as soon as they use our product, we kind of hope that, the referral to them would kind of help us spread, and it did, actually. So that gamble kind of paid off. Although we didn't make any money out of that deal, but just the referral and the use of their name became really, really handy for us in positioning ourselves. And to this day and time right now, we're not even mentioning them anymore because of the so many bigger names that we were able to reel in. But we were very grateful for that.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. So, wow, I'm just tracing back your timeline, your journey. It's remarkable. From 2014 to 2018, that's a lot of the ideation and R&D, building, I'm sure going back and forth to the drawing board, a lot of figuring things out, then getting the facility finally in 2018, right?
Correct.
You got the facility, you have your first major customer in 2019, and then the pandemic hit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, what did you learn during that period? Although we know, I know now, your business, praise God, is continuing to grow, and really awesome success. But I'm curious, what was your response during the pandemic in 2020?
Originally, it was despair. We were locked down, so we were not allowed to leave our homes. It felt like you were a prison to your own house. So kind of like every night I would just look at the moon and the stars and kind of hoping what's going to happen? Is thing going to be okay? We're relatively new. We're just about to pick up, and we got hit by this pandemic, and we're worried. So, but we at that time it's like, okay, there's not much more I can do. So, of course, what I did was I read a lot of books. Kind of entertained myself by education, and our village actually was kind of okay for people to jog and walk. And so, physically, I kind of got myself into shape. I was a little bit out of shape prior to the pandemic because I was never exercising and had a lot of meetings physically that involved drinking and eating. And so I got a little fat. I must admit to that. With the pandemic, I focused on my mental, my intellectual, my physical, and also enhanced my spiritual facets. So that helped. But when the lockdowns kind of eased up, we were able to focus on the virtual platform, positioning our products in Facebook and in social media. Really helped because everyone was just at home, right? So they were also looking at social media. So that really helped. Zoom, I can't thank God enough for Zoom because all of our meetings were all now virtual. And so two things was easier, didn't have to travel. And the other thing is I didn't have to spend so much money for food and for drinks because all I have to do is just show them a video or we do Zoom. And again, that's it. That was very, very cheap. And thank God we were blessed and things picked up from there.
Wow.
So, we were blessed. I mean, I hate to say it, but, the pandemic was, a blessing in disguise to us.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's great to hear, right? Even though amidst that uncertainty and those days and nights of questioning, but looking backwards, you could see, okay, there's a light at the end of the tunnel and blessing. And I'm sure, I'm curious how it was as well, being home, right, with your family a little bit more.
Well, actually, that was the challenge because I was here in Manila and my family, they were in Bacolod. So we were separated for, a year.
Yeah.
And again, we're just being grateful that, with the technology, with FaceTime and with Zoom and all, at least we were able to communicate. But it was tough. Again, it's not much in your control. So, I just focus on the stuff that I can control. And again, the other facets that I mentioned, I was able to work on. So very grateful for that, despite the distance.
Yeah. Thank God. Thank God. Well, Mark, thank you for sharing your story. And there might be listeners out there, other fellow Filipinos who maybe they too, right, have a heart to build a business, or they might have some kind of idea. What would be the number one thing that you know now about entrepreneurship, right, that you wish you knew when you were in their stage, in the idea stage?
Okay. Keyword, creativity, imagination. And I don't mean that, you have to be creative with your product or you have to be creative with your process and whatnot. It's just that you will encounter a lot of disappointment. As you guys, if you heard earlier that it took me 4 or 5 years before we finally got this thing off the ground. So, of course, getting finances is one thing. And I know that you guys have a hard lock on what particular number that you want, but sometimes you're not going to get it. So just so guys would know, I originally asked for 16 million pesos. And you know how much I got? I only got 6. Which was 10%. So guess what? I had to create a facility out of that. I had to hire people out of that money. So again, just being creative, imagine and just, don't be hard locked that I need this. Again, you have to be creative. That's definitely one thing. For me also, again, everyone's going to tell you that, hey, don't give up on your dreams, be realistic. No, there's a healthy level of negativity as well that you have to factor in. Okay. Again, just being hyper realistic. So finances is definitely a challenge. Everyone will know that. Okay, I can't start without the money, or I can't. What do you call this? I can't work with this if I can't hire this particular individual. So, and the thing is, when you overthink, that's when you start to defeat yourself. So we call that analysis paralysis. So guess what? The creativity, the imagination, also other keyword, improvisation will come in very, very handy. So, and also I'd like to give you this advice. you can create any business. Literally, I have seen crap. I mean, crap, the real crap, like like chicken poo, like cow manure, literally crap. I mean, these things can still be positioned and sold, and you can be an entrepreneur of these things, and you can help a lot of people as well. So, if you have the imagination, the creativity backed by a strong will, you're going to go definitely far.
Thank you, Mark. It's wonderful to hear from you. And thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Wishing you and your family all the best with DioChemie and everything else. God bless you.
Likewise, I wish to all the listeners, I hope you get inspired, and please do, and work on your inspiration. Again, a lot of heartaches, a lot of frustration, but also other thing. I have to advise: never ever be stubborn. Please don't be hard-headed. Please have an open mind, open ears, open heart. Because if you are dead set and locked in your ways, nothing's going to happen. So always. So when you have everything open, it's easy to be creative and it's easy to improvise. That's all.
Keep your mind open. Keep your mind open. So good. So good. Mark, thank you. Thank you again. God bless you. We'll see you soon.
Okay. Good luck, everyone. Thank you.